Welcome to Past Paradise, where we explore your favorite vintage TV series, secret storylines, and hidden drama. Today we reveal why Susan Dey skipped the Partridge Family reunion. As a prominent character in the 1970s comedy, her disappearance aroused considerable conjecture. What created the gap after all these years? In 2024, additional information revealed the ongoing issues with one co-star. Stay tuned as we disclose the newest insider information and examine the complicated factors that kept Susan Dey from the reunion limelight. Shirley was related to Keith. In real life, several of the cast members are related. Shirley Jones, the actress who portrays Shirley Partridge, is linked to her on-screen son. David Cassidy, who portrays Jones's son, Keith Partridge, is her stepmother. When the two divorced in 1974, they had been married for over 20 years. The family remained close after the divorce and continued to communicate in the years that followed. Shirley made an effort to be involved in David's life despite his difficulties, but in the years leading up to his passing, their distance increased. Taking advantage of them blindly. The Partridge Family was created and produced by Screen Gems, Sony, the company earning millions from the popular program. Despite this, the cast was grossly undercompensated, given the show's enormous popularity. David Cassidy, the show's main musical performer, was only paid $600 weekly. His revenues were absurd when compared to the amount put into the production, which was over 10 times greater every week. Thankfully, it turned out that David had signed the initial contract while underage, so he was entitled to renegotiate the conditions. His weekly pay increased to a more manageable level after that. Shirley Jones. Shirley Jones, born in 1934 in Pennsylvania, began acting early. After declining the part of Carol Brady, the mother of the Brady Bunch, she started playing Shirley Partridge on The Partridge Family in 1970. Until the series' conclusion in 1974, Shirley Jones performed the role of the mother of the Partridge Family. After that, the actress had trouble finding employment because of her increased notoriety from the part. But Jones quickly returned to the public eye, and since then has been nominated for and won several accolades for her performances. Jones is an active member of PETA and acts largely in theater performances these days. David Cassidy. Born in 1950 in New York City, David Cassidy is the son of actors Jack Cassidy and Evelyn Ward. He started pursuing an acting career in his teens, which picked up steam in the late 1960s. Cassidy's major break came from the Partridge Family. Before this, he had mostly modest roles in TV series. His career took off thanks to this new chance, and he succeeded greatly. Producers said Cassidy's androgynous good looks led to his casting in the series. Because of his attractiveness, he rose to prominence as a teenage heartthrob in the 1970s and attracted much attention. In his later years, Cassidy supported himself as a musician, experiencing widespread acclaim in the 1970s and 1980s. Due to his propensity for drug usage and his serious alcoholism later in life, Cassidy cut himself apart from his friends and family. Sadly, he passed away in 2017 at the age of 67 from liver failure. Not everything is sunshine and rainbows. The unexpected stardom of David Cassidy was not as carefree as one would imagine. It became a major issue as Cassidy's initial contract granted him no protection or control over his name or appearance. Businesses may use his image and likeness on anything, including lunchboxes and posters, without obtaining his consent or paying him royalties. The fame of Cassidy was likewise rather chaotic. Even while teen idol culture was relatively young, it was powerful. Numerous times, when Cassidy returned home, he discovered admirers sleeping in his vehicle after it had been broken into, nude ladies inside his home, and followers waiting to crowd his doorway. The young guy found himself in a dangerous environment. Danny Bonaducci. Danny Partridge, the bassist of the Partridge Family Band, was portrayed by Danny Bonaducci as the red-headed middle kid. At 11, he started working on the program, and for his performance, he was given the Child Actor Lifetime Achievement Award. After starting as a child star, Bonaducci hosted his radio program, The Danny Bonaducci Show, and had numerous other popular radio programs. He had a short career in professional wrestling after his radio career. In addition to becoming a star in Hulk Hogan's Celebrity Championship Wrestling, he mostly performed in charity matches. Brian Forster. On the program, Brian Forster portrayed Chris Partridge. Jeremy Gilboax performed the part for the first time before being replaced in 1971. Forster was destined for greatness. He comes from a long family of wealthy individuals. Forster is the step-grandson of renowned British actor Alan Napier and the son of British cinema star Peter Forster. In addition, he is the great-great-great-grandson of renowned novelist Charles Dickens. Following his stint on the Partridge Family, he had no more on-screen work and went on to work as a professional race car driver in North Carolina and as a stunt vehicle driver. Replacing Chris Partridge. Jeremy Gilboax was forced into acting by his parents, and he had strained relationships with his producers and co-stars. After a year, the producers decided to replace him for their benefit and that of Jeremy. And what do you know? Nobody paid attention. The program went on as normal, and the studio never received a single letter or complaint about the changeover. Brian Forster assumed Chris's role for the last 3 years of the show's run without anybody noticing. Forster and Gilboax both appeared in the Partridge Family Reunion TV special, sharing their opinions on the program and their experiences as Chris Partridge. Fame and jealousy. Shirley Jones wed Jack Cassidy from 1956 to 1974, but their union was called off for an unexpected cause. Her husband got quite envious when she started playing the Partridge Family and started to succeed in the business, and their marriage suffered badly as a result. He turned to adultery because of his alcoholism and jealousy. Years later, Jones remarked, "His overriding sense of inferiority in the face of my success drove him into the arms of other women even more often than before." David Cassidy subsequently revealed that his father had battled alcoholism and anger management, which led to unpredictable behavior and ultimately the breakup of the couple. Suzanne Crowe. Tracy Partridge, the youngest member of the Partridge Family, was portrayed by Suzanne Crowe as the family band's tambourine player. It was Crowe's first acting job at 9 years old. After the program ended, she continued to play a few small parts before deciding to give up the limelight and lead a regular life. Crowe ran and owned a bookshop for several years after becoming 18 years old. She resided in Nevada with her 2 kids after getting married. In 2015, Crowe unexpectedly passed away from a genetic cardiac condition. In a memorial, Danny Bonaducci said, "Everyone thought I'd be the first Partridge to go. Sadly, it was little Tracy. Suzanne was a wonderful lady and a good mom. She will be missed." Her co-stars expressed their sadness over her passing. Dave Madden. Dave Madden was reared by his aunt and uncle in Indiana from an early age after being born in Canada in 1931. Despite his early enlistment in the U.S. Air Force, he has always loved humor and performing. After serving in the Air Force, he worked on several comedic series, including appearances on Camp Runamuck and The Ed Sullivan Show. Subsequently, he achieved more success as manager and agent Reuben Kincaid for the Partridge Family Band. After the program ended, Madden got a few small TV parts. Throughout his youth, he developed a strong interest in photography and a pastime out of it. In 2014, Dave Madden, at 82 years old, passed away under hospice care. Partridge's who? Did you know that the actual tale of the Cowsill family band inspired the Partridge Family? The mother was the family's leader, which included 6 boys and 1 daughter. The song, "The Rain, the Park, and Other Things," was one of the band's few small successes in the 1960s. The program was originally developed to cast the genuine Cowsill family as the Partridges, as desired by the Sony producers. The Cowsills were not pleased when the producers decided later in the discussions that they wanted to replace the mother with Shirley Jones. The Cowsill family declined the chance because it was all or nothing. Brady is not Partridge. Shirley Jones was originally slated to play Carol, the mother on the Brady Bunch, but she declined the role, stating, "Although I loved the script and felt that she, Partridge, was destined to become the first working mother on TV, I turned it down because I didn't want to be the mother taking the roast out of the oven and not doing much else. Ultimately, Shirley Jones decided to take on the role of Shirley Partridge for two reasons. First, because working on the series would let me be an almost full-time mom and raise my kids. The romance of Cassidy and Day. For the duration of the program, Susan Day, who portrayed Laurie, the second oldest child, had intense feelings for her co-star David Cassidy. Cassidy subsequently said that he was aware of Day's long-standing desire, but chose to wait to act on it until the 1974 finale of the program. The two started dating after the program ended, but regrettably, their relationship was short-lived. Years after their relationship ended, Cassidy wrote about it in full in his book. Susan was not delighted when he revealed maybe more information about their connection than was acceptable. Their relationship ended with the book's publication, and the two never spoke again. The Ricky Stevens. The show's creators introduced the character of Ricky Stevens when the show's ratings started to decline. Ricky was cute even at 4 years old, and the expectation was that he would increase viewership in the next season. To capitalize on the Jackson 5's popularity at the time, the producers originally intended to include a young African-American youngster in the program. However, they ultimately changed their minds and chose to go with a small Caucasian youngster. London Tragedy. David Cassidy's musical career was greatly aided by the Partridge Family, and once the program ended, his notoriety skyrocketed. One terrible incident happened in 1974 when they performed at London's White City Stadium. Fascinated by Cassidy's stunning appearance, a throng rushed to the platform, stomping on those nearest it. 30 of the almost 800 wounded in the rush required hospitalization. One of the 30 people sent to the hospital, Bernadette Whelan, 14, never made it out of the hospital. Whelan had a persistent heart problem, and the stress of the encounter led to a cardiac attack. 4 days later, she died tragically in the hospital. When questioned later about the little girl's death, Cassidy said that it would follow him into the hereafter. Distressor Bonaducci. Due to his difficult upbringing, Danny Bonaducci was quite a troublemaker even as a young child. Danny's on-screen mother, Shirley Jones, who subsequently served as his guardian in real life, said of him, "Danny was a wild child who came from an unhappy home. At 11, he started smoking." Like many child stars, his family life was negatively impacted by the limelight he grew up in. His irregular and even chaotic conduct did not improve after his harsh upbringing. It persisted into adulthood. The Partridge's house. If you think the Partridge family house seems familiar, don't worry. It was a set used several times. In addition, the house served as the residence of the neighboring spies who lived next door to the Stevensons in the television series Bewitched, Dennis the Menace, I Dream of Jeannie, and The Donna Reed Show. Fans of these well-known programs from the 1960s and 1970s noted many parallels in the sets, but no one seemed too concerned. Reese Witherspoon appeared in Pleasantville, a movie that also used the set. The family owned a dog called Simone during the program's first season, as many of you may recall. The dog somehow vanished from the program throughout the first and second seasons and was never seen or discussed again. We can only hope that the dog was discarded because it was deemed unnecessary for the plot and an unnecessary expense. It is conceivable, however, that the dog did not survive to see the second season, and the program chose not to discuss it to avoid negative publicity. Though we hope it was the initial choice, this one is up to interpretation. Reunions. In the years after the show's conclusion, Susan Day has been unable to attend cast reunions due to her and David Cassidy's romantic troubles. It is unknown if the two made up before Cassidy died in 2017, but it's highly unlikely. What a shame for the once lovers. Shirley Jones commented on the situation. She and David had grown apart, and nowadays they are completely out of touch, which hurts David tremendously. I was also hurt that out of everyone on the show, only Susan consistently refuses to participate in TV reunions of the Partridge family. Partridge family in animation. After a brief run on television, The Partridge Family was canceled due to low ratings, similar to most spin-offs. The show's popularity prompted the creation of an animated spin-off, Partridge Family 2200 AD. David Cassidy and Shirley Jones declined to participate in the project, and Danny Bonaducci and Susan Day provided limited voice roles. Sometimes it's best to let a show go out of business. Guest stars. Because of its immense popularity, the show featured several well-known guest stars throughout its 4 seasons. Notable names include Farrah Fawcett, Johnny Cash, who appeared in the pilot episode, Jodie Foster, Jaclyn Smith, Cheryl Ladd, and Mark Hamill. The list goes on, and considering the show was only on the air for 4 years, this is a significant number of guest stars. Final destination. The Partridge Family bus, a 1957 Chevrolet 6800 Superior, is widely recognized as one of the most iconic symbols of the show. When viewers saw the bus zooming on their TV screens, they instantly felt delighted. In the Partridge Family pilot episode, the family finds the bus at a car dealership and takes it home to give it the iconic paint job we know and love. However, behind the scenes, the Screen Gems TV studio purchased the bus for $500 from the Orange County School District. The bus was parked behind a taco shop on Martin Luther King Boulevard after the show ended, presumably to increase the establishment's visibility. Years of disuse and neglect caused the bus to be officially put out of commission and taken to a dump yard. Intended for just Shirley to sing. Shirley Jones was the only cast member originally scheduled to sing. But after hearing David Cassidy's demo, the producers decided he would be a great addition to the tracks. With his amazing voice, he was able to sing alongside his stepmother on the show, and maybe this was the start of his musical career. After the show ended, Cassidy's singing career took off. We are grateful that the Partridge Family producers saw fit to hire him. In place of Keith Partridge. When the show's 4th season was about to end, the producers faced a dilemma. David Cassidy wanted to focus on his music and leave the show to pursue it. Since the show was so popular, they wanted to renew it for a 5th season, but they needed a replacement for the heartthrob David, so they cast talented musician Rick Springfield in his place. However, things didn't quite work out that way, and the show was not renewed for a 5th season. No one could replace the great David Cassidy. Memorize his lines. The young Danny Bonaducci struggled greatly to learn his lines because he was dyslexic, but he also had a photographic memory, which helped him remember them much better. Danny frequently got into trouble with the other cast members because he would correct them on their lines, even though his photographic memory helped him remember them. The voice of David Cassidy. In actuality, David Cassidy's voice is very different from what we hear on the show. The singing portions were all pre-recorded in a recording studio where the producers adjusted Cassidy's voice to sound more appealing to audiences. Although Cassidy had a natural talent, having a higher-pitched voice at the time was more fashionable, so they made the necessary adjustments to fit the times. Battle with notoriety. Shirley Jones said being famous was not always as glamorous as it seemed. The public continued to find it hard to separate the Partridge Family from the real-life actors playing them, which could sometimes cause serious problems in our lives. Not only did her popularity lead to the breakdown of her 20-year marriage, but it also made it difficult for her to lead a normal life because the music created for the show frequently charted in real life, making it difficult for the public to distinguish between fact and fiction. Additionally, the public believed that Jones was David Cassidy's mother, which led to many issues between Jones and his real mother, Evelyn Ward. The challenges. Many people who become famous at a young age find that adulthood is difficult. David Cassidy struggled personally and got into much trouble with the law. He filed for bankruptcy, had 3 DUIs, went through 3 divorces, and owed creditors an astounding $400,000. David had severe alcoholism from a young age. He entered treatment for his addiction in 2012, but it seemed that the damage had already been done because he later died from it. His alcoholism caused him to have liver and kidney failure. More partridges were sold. As previously stated, the music written for the show was incredibly successful, more successful than anyone could have imagined. Their song, I Think I Love You, from the 1970 album, The Partridge Family Album, shot to the top of the charts both domestically and abroad, reaching number 1 on the Billboard charts in November 1970 and outselling the Beatles' hit song, Let It Be. This shows just how popular the Partridge Family was. So much so that they even eclipsed one of the greatest bands ever. Singing of her co-stars. Shirley Jones was vocal about her dissatisfaction with her co-stars' singing abilities. She believed only her stepson, David Cassidy, possessed the talent to sing on the show. Jones frequently made statements claiming that the voices of Susan Dey, Suzanne Crowe, Jeremy Gelbwax, Brian Forster, and Danny Bonaducci were completely unsatisfactory. Not able to play. We mentioned that the public was often confused by the show's fictitious elements, often thinking of them as real. This was true for not only the actors' personal lives, but also their musical talents. The fans thought that the Partridge Family could play all the instruments they were shown to play in the show, not understanding that it was all fiction. There was only one actor on the show who could play an instrument, and that was David Cassidy. Susan Dey. After leaving the Partridge Family, Susan Dey became well known in Hollywood. She starred in some TV shows, including L.A. Law, for which she won an Emmy, a Golden Globe, and an award for Best Television Actress in 1988. Following L.A. Law, Dey worked in movies and TV shows like Echo Park, Bed of Lies, Hawaii Five-0, and Third Watch. However, her career in show business ended in 2004 when she made her last on-screen appearance. Problems with body image. The fast ascent to fame and the Hollywood spotlight was difficult for Susan Dey, who struggled with her body image and began to restrict her food intake. Dieting and restriction were a slippery slope for Susan, and she quickly became very underweight, reaching a dangerous low of 92 pounds. Susan didn't notice a problem with her weight at first. It wasn't until Danny Bonaducci saw her in a bathing suit and commented on her near skeletal form that Susan realized she had a problem. Previously, Dey had made a living as a model. However, it wasn't until her acting career took off that she achieved any success. A somber conclusion. Even though the show ended many years ago, there was still animosity between some of the cast members. David Cassidy maintained friendships with most cast members and maintained communication with Danny Bonaducci until his death, but not all of his co-stars did. Susan Dey refused to go to any reunions and distanced herself from the show after it ended. The late Cassidy said this was probably because he had mentioned in his autobiography that he and Dey had spent a few nights together when they were younger. It is unclear if Susan Dey will attend reunions now that Cassidy has passed away.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon